How do you do, fellow kids? Let's get this bread. Jessie Coffield stands to my left. I'm her best friend, Emerson, Lotzia. We host this show called The Sweat, where we ask our analysts questions that make them look smart.
Self-proclaimed best friend. I'm just kidding. You are my best friend. And we'll be doing plenty of that tonight in the land of football and hockey. But our NBA panel is batting leadoff. DK Live's Julian Edlow and Mike Barner. And from the New York Daily News, it's Karin Phillips.
It's time to put a DraftKings spin on today's NBA headlines, a segment we like to call NBA Spin Move.
Wow.
Sounds like DeMarcus Cousins will make his long-awaited Warriors debut on Friday when Golden State faces the Clippers. Hasn't played nearly a whole year since tearing his Achilles, and at that time he was having a career season with New Orleans, averaging more than 25 points and 12 rebounds a game. But, spoiler alert, games are only played with one ball.
What?
Julian, which Warriors star's value do you expect to maybe take a hit once Cousins hits the floor?
Yeah, it's going to be everybody here. I mean, particularly when Boogie gets more healthy. For starters, he's going to be on a minutes restriction, but he is supposed to start with that first unit. So when you have Steph, Clay, Draymond, KD, and Boogie all on the floor together, it can literally be anybody's night. So when you're looking for your DFS edge here, it's going to come strictly on matchups and injury reports. Are guys out for the Warriors that allow the other studs to step up? But when all five of those guys are on the court, and especially when Boogie's fully healthy, it's going to be impossible to figure out. You can try and play a better backcourt matchup or a better front court matchup, but it could be anybody's night at any time. I guess just size-wise, Golden State's had so much trouble defending bigs. Maybe it can take away a little bit from Draymond. Boogie likes the ball in his hands. Draymond's a little more of a playmaker. So Draymond, if I had to pick one, but it's going to come from everywhere.
Mike, which teammate of Boogie, which teammate's value is going to take a hit, the biggest hit?
Yeah, I agree. I think Draymond Green is going to take the biggest hit. His scoring's already down this year at 6.9 points per game. If he starts to lose out some rebounds too, his value is really going to take a big hit. I think Curry, Durant, Thompson, they'll all see a couple fewer shots per game. But I think that the Cousins is going to have to adjust to the Warrior stars. I don't think it's going to be the other way around.
Yeah, Karin, I'll present you with the same question, but also, do you think maybe that he could help increase the value of some guys since he might be commanding so much attention in the post, kind of opens it up on the perimeter?
I think he will. And what's blowing my mind is that me and Julian are agreeing on things finally. This is like 2 times in a row. I can't believe it. Because I agree with everything Julian said, except that I don't think Draymond's going to be the one, who's going to suffer from this. I think they're all, like he said, going to take a little dip in their numbers and their production. But to me, the guy I'm looking at from a strictly basketball standpoint is Kevin Durant. Because the rest of the guys in Clay and Steph and Draymond, they were all there. They've played with each other longer. When you add a true big man who can shoot the three as well as Boogie can, but a low post threat who can score, he's going to cause some havoc. And you do have some shooters on the outside with the other guys. The thing with Durant that's really making me, raise my eyebrows is that, as you look at the Warriors offense the last couple of years, sometimes they get a little stagnant. And when it gets stagnant, it's because Kevin Durant is playing iso ball, which isn't what's made Golden State so great. So I think he will have to change his game the most in terms of maybe turning to a catch and shoot guy, which he hasn't really been known to be. But I'm just happy Boogie's back because the Warriors are finally going to be in full Thanos mode, and I'm excited to see it.
Thanos is very scary. We were talking about him the other day.
Yeah.
Great villain. Yeah. All right. Kyrie Irving sat out on Monday with a minor quad issue, and the fans in Brooklyn trolled him and the Celtics after the game by chanting, "Kyrie's leaving," and while he is suiting up tonight at home against the best of the East, Toronto. So, Karin, do you believe Kyrie is a must-play tonight, considering how much he's going to want to beat Kawhi and the Raptors?
I consider him a must because it's Toronto and it's in Boston, given all the drama that's going on with that team and some of the comments Kyrie has made the last couple of weeks. But at the same time, I wouldn't be mad if someone's must-play pick was Jason Tatum, given that guy's coming off a really high game where he will hit his career high in points. So either one I wouldn't be mad at, but since it's a must and everyone's paying attention, I go with Kyrie.
I mean, Julian, the last time these two teams met in November, Kyrie put on a clinic. So what do you think is going to happen tonight?
Yeah, so you definitely have the upside of that monster game that Kyrie had the last time Toronto was here in Boston. And I believe that was another nationally televised game on a Friday night. Look, there's a couple of ways you can go with Kyrie here. I don't think he's must play on this slate. With the tear James Harden's on, if you're going to roster him, it's going to be really tough to fit a guy like Kyrie. But the reason that I would look to Kyrie, the narrative I would look towards more is not the Raptors, it's his own team. There's a lot of inner turmoil in this Celtics locker room. And that stemmed from Kyrie's kind of body language and comments towards his own teammates. He definitely needs to do a better job keeping that in-house. But his actions led to Jaylen Brown saying, the leadership from this organization needs to start top to bottom, not bottom to top, top to bottom. And he said it just like that, very clearly pointing the finger at Kyrie, who you would think is sitting at the top. So if Kyrie goes off for 40, 10, and 5 tonight, I think that's going to be to shove it in his own teammates' face rather than the Toronto Raptors.
Mike, you like that narrative better than the Toronto narrative?
Well, I mean, I think he's definitely going to be motivated for this game regardless of why, but I don't necessarily think he's a must-start in DFS. There's a lot of great guard options, and one thing that's overlooked is, yeah, he did have a great game against the Raptors last time, but they're one of the best teams of limiting opposing point guards to DraftKings points. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're filling out your roster. And like Julian said, you're not going to be able to fit both him and Harden in there. So that's something to take into consideration.
All right, well, according to the New York Times, the Grizzlies may consider trading Marc Gasol as he approaches a player option for next season. They don't want him leaving and getting absolutely nothing in return. Mike, how much do you think Gasol is worth at 34 years young, and what potential landing spot makes most sense for him?
Well, I think one thing you got to consider is that Gasol can actually opt out of his contract after the season. So any team that makes a trade for him has to realize it could just be a short-term rental. I wouldn't expect the Grizzlies to be able to get a ton in return because of that. The Raptors could use a center, but I doubt they'll make a big impact move like bringing Gasol with how well they've played. The Lakers are a bit unsettled at center. Gasol's ability to hit three-pointers could help with their spacing. The problem with that is if he opts into his contract next season, that would hurt their chances at making a run at the big free agent players. So I don't think they'll take that risk. I'm not sure if there's a really good landing spot for him, and I don't think the Grizzlies are going to get a major haul.
Julian, your thoughts on this situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation because, like Mike just pointed out, he can opt out of that contract, but is, an aging center that is not playing his best basketball going to give up on like roughly $25 million next year? Probably not. So the team that trades for him, I think I would lean towards him sticking with. If it was a really bad situation and Gasol didn't care about the money as much, he could obviously opt out. But like a team like the Sacramento Kings comes to mind, even though they have some bodies up front. We just heard that recent rumor that they're interested in Enes Kanter, who is a similarly priced expiring contract. Gasol probably the better player between the two. And the Kings don't care about tanking because Philly or Boston is getting that pick. So Sacramento can play to win this season, whether it's a rental or maybe a 2-year deal for Gasol. Other than that, there's not many places. Like the San Antonio Spurs could make sense, but if they traded for him, it would probably be, looking at the contract situation, somebody like Pau Gasol that would go back in return for him. And would a team like the Spurs want to give up any draft picks to add a guy like Marc Gasol? Probably not. So I see a really limited market here for an aging center with a really big contract.
Yeah, pretty limited market in your opinion as well, Karin?
Yeah, like I don't know what you do with this guy. And it just always felt like Memphis was the best place for him because they have this thing for old centers. Because they even signed Joakim Noah, was that a couple of weeks ago, which I still don't understand. But if I was the only team I can think of is like the Lakers. And the only reason I think of the Lakers is because they have publicly stated that while everyone's chasing Golden State and trying to play like Golden State, they're going to zig while everyone in the league is zagging. So if you're going to zag, why not go get a low post old center who can score on the block? Because that's not what the NBA is. So if you're going to be a contrarian, go get Marc Gasol.
And Noah, by the way, could end up seeing plenty of action tonight if Gasol does not play. So something to keep in mind.
Guys, before we wrap with you in this first block, are there any other headlines you guys are keeping your eyes on that are impacting fantasy rosters tonight? Julian, anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, the major thing is Damian Lillard's status. He was downgraded to questionable a couple hours ago with, I think it was a hand injury. So never a good sign when somebody who wasn't on the injury report pops up. So that's going to be a 10 o'clock game. We're probably not going to get this news until after the slate of 8 p.m. games has tipped off. So something to keep an eye on, something to be a little flexible with your lineups in terms of doing some late swap if Lillard winds up out. Guys like Evan Turner, CJ McCollum then become a lot more valuable on this slate.
Mike, anything you're keeping an eye on there?
We were just talking about Gasol. He's questionable for tonight. Joakim Noah's probably going to be the popular. He's got the bigger name. He's cheaper. But don't sleep on JaMychal Green. I think he'd also be a pretty good play tonight if Gasol ultimately is unable to take the floor.
Karin, what about you?
No news for me. I'm just ready for Boogie to get back so we can watch the Thanos Warriors.
Yeah,
the Thanos Warriors.
The news for Karin should be that the segment later in the show is called Save or Splurge, and he gets to save on every player.
Budget, baby.
Save it for later, you three. Save it for later. And be sure to, all of you watching at home, be sure to download that DK Live app so you get all that information about who's going tonight.
Nailed it.
So like we said, we're going to ask you three who we should splurge or save on later coming up. So save that fire for that. First, we're going to look at some of this weekend's prop bets with our NFL panel.
Hey, it's Adam Kaufman with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. 4 teams remain in the NFL playoffs. That means everyone else forced to just think about 2019, including the Panthers. And you know what? This one's big. Owner David Tepper said Carolina is considering sitting Cam Newton the entire season. Soon to be 30-year-old QB still has that sore right shoulder, and as the Colts did with Andrew Luck, might make sense for Newton to take a year off, recover, so he can enter the 2020 season fully healthy. Newton passed for 3,400 yards, 24 TDs, and 13 interceptions in 14 games last year before missing the final 2 when it became clear the strength in that throwing shoulder wasn't so, strong. He'd had it surgically repaired before the 2017 campaign, but there's obviously a difference between something being repaired and healed. The organization's still considering whether the answer for Newton is rest or second surgery. Luck returned from a year off to throw 39 touchdowns, but there are no guarantees what worked for him is going to work for Cam. Panthers have about $25 million in cap space, but can cut another couple of guys, clear 10 mil or so. If they don't have Newton, they could sign a vet. There's Nick Foles, Teddy Bridgewater, Tyrod Taylor, Ryan Fitzpatrick, among others. Could draft a QB, not a great class for that, or lean on Kyle Allen, who's unproven, but did look good in limited action last year.
Emerson, we're closing in on the end of football season here, which of course is tragic. So we're going to soak up every last moment with our NFL panel. DK Live's Reed Fowler, Pierce Dietrich, and Steve Buchanan.
I can't decide which I love more. You guys on our screen right now? Oh, yeah, definitely these two. Or football? Well, the answer tonight at 11. Right now, it's time for something we like to call NFL Propped Up. You tell us if you like these prop bets for the conference championship games this weekend.
Ooh.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
James White was a full-blown receiver last week with 15 catches against the Chargers. We were counting. The odds makers are setting his line at 5.5 receptions on Sunday. Reed, this is a definite over, question mark?
I don't think it's a definite over. I think what we've seen from James White throughout the season is that he is the receiving back. He is the epitome of that. But if you look at the last half of his season, he missed this mark 6 of those last 8 games. And if you look at the playoffs, it's really been a tale of 2 cities. We either see him go for these double-digit target and reception games, or he averages less than 3 to 4 receptions per game. And so it really comes down to a game theory. I do think that he is going to, or they're going to need him to win this game. I think the Patriots are going to be passing quite a bit. A definite over, I'm going to say no, but I think he does it.
Definite over for you, Pierce.
Yeah, I'm going to lean towards a definite over. And last week we saw him playing all over the field, and a lot of that had to do with the Chargers having really good defensive backs matching up against wide receivers. So you put White all over the field, it works out really well. I don't know if we'll get 15 receptions out of him, but you just run through the possible scenarios. If Sony goes for another 100 yards, well, he got 100 yards last week, and James White still caught 15 passes. The other possibility is if we see a shootout, that definitely favors him. They're going to see more passing. The thing that worries me, the only reason I can see this line or this number being so low is all the weapons are in play because Kansas City is probably half the defense that the Chargers had. So we could see Edelman go off. We could see Hogan go off. We could see Gronk come alive. We could see Burkhead go off. There's just a lot of possibilities against a bad defense.
Steve, what goes into your decision of trying to decide if James White is going to go over or under 5.5 receptions?
Just take the over. What are we going to debate this about? I mean,
Reed.
We know how bad this Kansas City defense has been. I'll tell you one thing that's not going to happen. Gronk is not going to go off. Gronk can barely stay on the field. We know one strong win from that cold weather, and he's done for the season. I mean, but look, it's like I don't see a game script playing out where it doesn't favor James White. And like Pierce just brought it up, even with Sony Michel going crazy last week, he had 17 targets and 15 receptions. I'm just kind of surprised on how low the number is. Like, obviously, you can't expect 17 targets, 15 catches on any normal week. But, this is a Kansas City defense that allows an average of 5 catches per game to opposing running backs. So it's one of those defenses that allows that type of production. Brady always kind of relies on him. And to Reed's point, too, we've seen how he hasn't hit that mark in a while. This is also an offense without Josh Gordon. They don't have a lot of weapons that they can go to, reliable weapons that they can go to anywhere other than Julian Edelman. You're not going to rely on Chris Hogan. You're not going to rely on Philip Dorsett. It's going to be James White, Julian Edelman. That's the way they're going to win this game. So I like James White in this spot here a lot.
Tyreek Hill's receiving yard total is set at 80.5, and we all know that he can do that on one play.
That is a fact.
Pierce, is this a lock to go over?
Well, the narrative that we're going to roll out this week is the Patriots do their best to shut down the best player on the other team. And that didn't happen last time that Tyreek Hill played him. But if you watched last week, Keenan Allen was limited to 2 catches. Now, one of them was a big catch, and he got to 75 yards. But for the most part, Gilmore shut Keenan Allen down. He was not a part of it, and Phillip Rivers was targeting all of his other receivers pretty much the entire game because they were the only ones that were open. But Tyreek Hill's a different type of player. And if you think this thing's going to shoot out, which is highly likely based on the projected total, then Tyreek Hill should get those yards. Maybe they don't put the points on the board, but the Patriots still give up yards.
That's true. Steve, Bill Belichick was a little squirrely when asked about this on Tuesday. So what do you think? Is Tyreek Hill a lock for over 80.5 receiving yards?
I mean, you're not going to get anything out of Belichick, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. Look, I mean, Hill's got – calm down. Hill's got over this mark 7 times already this season. And you think this would be a good matchup for him because, something I always go back to is how bad the Patriots have been against opposing slot receivers, and that's where Tyreek Hill has them operating out of the majority of the season. Interesting, though, last week, we saw Stephon Gilmore go to the slot more than he has any time in the regular season. He went there 31 times last week, and if that's the type of scenario or that's the type of defense that they're going to run, then if he's going to see a lot of Stephon Gilmore, you can't like his chances here. Gilmore arguably was the best corner during the regular season. He doesn't get enough hype that he did, but graded out PFF, I think he was the top cornerback in the league. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. So if they're going to be running Gilmore in the slot as much as they did last week, then you can't like that mark for Hill. I think that makes a really good game for Travis Kelce. I think that's someone to watch out for. And Sammy Watkins. I think those are 2 guys that are really going to benefit from Gilmore traveling to the slot more. So I'm going to take the under on this one. I'm going to give respect to Gilmore. But yeah, Tyreek's one of those guys that it only just takes one play. But looking at all things aside, I'm going to go under.
Yeah, you can't coach somebody to be that fast, Reed. I don't know if you heard. But where are you going on this one?
Yeah,
dude, he used to play high school football.
With Bukes there. Exactly. He made all the right points. I really think when you look at Stephon Gilmore, he's one of the best cornerbacks. And to Pierce's point, right, the Patriots are going to do. They're the best game planners in the NFL. They have been for a while. And that now means getting Stephon Gilmore on their best receiver and traveling with them. And Tyreek Hill, look, the Patriots are about 16th against wide receiver ones, giving up an average of 65 yards. We all know what Tyreek Hill can do on one play. So this could easily be squashed in one play. But the Patriots are also number 2 ranked against the deep ball as well. So they don't give up these big plays. I really do think, though, the Patriots are going to try and stop Travis Kelce. We've seen Tyreek Hill have bad games against San Francisco, Oakland, games he shouldn't have had bad games. And they've won. Every single game that Kansas City has won and or lost is predicated on how Travis Kelce has done. So I really think that if the Patriots are trying to stop the number 1 player, it's got to be Kelce. So I'm going to say under on this one as well, just because Stephon Gilmore is such a good player.
Also, let's keep in mind there will be a total lunar eclipse Sunday after the Patriots-Chiefs game, 10:41
That means it's
time.
A full moon, right?
I believe so.
Wow,
and
guys.
Something with the stars.
Be careful, werewolves.
Holy crap.
You got to be careful. Steve, what's your take on the werewolves? No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you were going to say weather.
Well.
All right, here we go. Next question. Yeah, he's loving it. Funny. It's plus 300. Steve, please be quiet. It's plus 300 if you want to bet on Todd Gurley to score at least 2 touchdowns against the Saints. But it's plus 800 if you want to make the same bet on C.J. Anderson. So, Steven, since you're in such a jolly mood, which bet is more tempting?
Can I talk now?
Go ahead.
Yep.
I mean, you're getting fantastic value on the Anderson bet, honestly. I mean, but you have to think they're going to go back to Todd Gurley this week. I mean, Sean McVay said today that Todd Gurley's knee is fine and he's going to be limited in practice, and obviously that makes a lot of sense there. But honestly, I don't really mind taking either bet here. I mean, you're getting good odds on your money. The matchup isn't great for either of them. So that's the only thing that's kind of making me think about it, is because the Saints have one of the best run defenses in the league. So it's not like they're going to be grounded and pounded in this game and finding success with the run. So, but for the odds that you're getting here, I really don't think you can go wrong in either place, because we've seen either of these guys can score multiple touchdowns. I mean, nobody can stop C.J. Anderson unless they're going to get 4 guys on him. I mean, that, it's just a big guy. And then Todd Gurley is one of the best receiving backs that they have there as well. So either one really can go there. So I don't mind either bet.
All right, what do you think, Reed?
Yeah, I mean, the C.J. Anderson one is tempting out of the two. I mean, like Steve was mentioning, you got Todd Gurley, one of the best running backs in the NFL. So obviously you're going to see what the benefit of betting on him is at this number. But to Steve's point, like C.J. Anderson got 11 attempts in the red zone. Dallas was probably more a fatigued defense, and a defense that we saw a lot of running backs do well on towards the end of the season. What you do like about the Rams, especially for C.J. Anderson, is they have the 5th most rush attempts in the red zone on the road, and they're 2nd in rushing touchdowns away. And so that really, in terms of the style of back of what we've seen so far, would lead me towards Anderson, but you can't go wrong with the two.
All right, who you siding with? Which way you going, Pierce?
You just got to play this out. If you're the Rams and you're on the road in the conference championship against a really good rush defense, you get the ball in the red zone, you want Todd Gurley on the field every single play. You don't get cute. You get with the guy that can run, the guy that can catch the ball, the guy that's going to make the defense have to game plan around him. That being said, C.J. Anderson has looked really good. He's literally looking like a different guy. Maybe not for the best, literally, but he's getting tons of yards. And like Steve mentioned, these are great numbers. Plus 800 for C.J. Anderson. Who knows? Maybe they'll put him in on goal line threats. I mean, he's big enough now that he can run it inside the 2 every time.
Alrighty, fantastic advice, you 3. Go ahead and take a little break. You have certainly earned it. Right now, it's time to talk hockey.
After this NBA slate preview.
Brendan Glasheen here with your first look at tonight's NBA slate, presented by Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner, 2 of boxing's biggest stars in one explosive fight. Saturday, January 19th, live on pay-per-view. DK Live's Greg Ehrenberg is here to help you with the 8-game slate in the association tonight. Greg, James Harden has been a beast as of late, 30 points at least in 17 straight games. He's also notched at least 70 DK points in 7 of his last 10. Is he a must-play, even if he costs $13K tonight versus the Nets?
Yeah, and I think you're almost underselling him by calling him a beast. Like, there aren't adjectives to describe what he's doing right now. There's no defense for him. Last game was probably the worst situation he possibly could have been in. He was playing against the Grizzlies, one of the best defense in the league. On the tail end of a back-to-back, he played 43 minutes the night before. He still scored 57 points. They had no answer for him. The Grizzlies were trying, they put Joakim Noah in to try to guard James Harden. They tried double-teaming him at half court. Until Chris Paul comes back, we just have to play James Harden every night.
We expect a lot of points to be scored in the Pelicans-Warriors matchup late tonight. Over-under is hovering in the 240 range. Which team do you see as the better stack?
Yeah, so for me, it's the Warriors. We saw what they did last night against the Nuggets, who are really tough defense. They have a much easier matchup tonight against the Pelicans. The Warriors are projected to be the highest scoring team on the slate by a pretty wide margin. So I think that all of their stars have really high upside. So I like the Warriors side of the game.
All right, and your slate-approved pick for this 8-game slate tonight, please.
Yeah, Kyrie Irving for the people in the Boston office. I think that we look at what the Celtics are doing right now. They've been struggling a little bit. There's been some back and forth in the media. Kyrie's calling guys out. And I think that in the key matchup against the Raptors, I think we really see Kyrie try to take over and really establish himself as the leader in this situation and say, hey, guys, it's okay, I got this. And then also the last time they played against the Raptors, he had a season-high 71.5 DK fantasy points, so he can succeed in this matchup.
All right, thank you, Greg. Once again, Manny Pacquiao versus Adrian Broner is this Saturday, January 19th, live on pay-per-view.
Back here on The Sweat, where hockey takes the main stage right now, we have Chris Wassel of Awesemo.com here, and well, his Christmas tree, it is not in the picture in case you missed the appearance of said tree last night.
Yeah, but it is still up, which is great.
It's still up,
yeah.
right, Chris?
Still up till the weekend.
All right.
Love it, man.
Cool.
Never give up.
All right, as for right now, it's NHL opening face-off when you decide which of the top 2 players at each position you like more on tonight's 5-game slate. So Nathan MacKinnon, the top-priced center man at $8,000 against the Senators, and just below him is Connor McDavid, who's $7,900 against the Canucks. Who do you like more? I mean, can you really not take McDavid?
You know, I want to take McDavid. I really do tonight. That being said, Colorado is playing Ottawa. Ottawa gives up 37 shots a game, over 37 at home. Their penalty kill is just 72% at home. Everything screams train wreck in Ottawa. Now look, Ottawa will score some goals, but Colorado will too. The first line, the last 2 times these teams have matched up, McKinnon's had 5 points in those 2 games. He had 10 shots on goal in those 2 games. Everything screams taking McKinnon tonight just because, look, even the bookies have right now Ottawa, Colorado approaching almost a 7 over-under, while Edmonton and Vancouver are still languishing around a 5.5.
All right, Chris, Johnny Gaudreau's the top wing at $7,600 against the Sabres, who have lost 9 of their last 10 on the road. Then there is David Pastrnak, Pasta, who's $100 cheaper against the Flyers. Which one of these guys is worth paying up for this evening?
It is without a doubt Johnny Gaudreau. Look, Buffalo's defense has been abysmal lately. I mean, they gave up 5. They gave up 7 goals to Edmonton. That's impressively bad. And in a way that you just sat there and looked, okay, you let Milan Lucic score twice, Zach Cashin scored twice. When you're seeing bottom 6 guys score like that against the team, it's a very ominous sign. And this Trail of Tears road trip for Buffalo continues tonight against one of the best offenses in the league. The good news, I guess, for Buffalo is that Calgary likes to give up almost as many goals at home too. So there may be some backdoor plays there, but Johnny Gaudreau is without a doubt an almost automatic play tonight.
All right, Brent Burns is the most expensive defenseman tonight at $6,700 against the Coyotes. Then there's Mark Giordano going against the Sabres. He's $400 less. So which one do you predict will have the better game?
Right now, it almost has to be Burns, only for this reason. Burns has a little higher upside at this moment. I'd even go as far as to say that Erik Karlsson may even have a better game than Mark Giordano, who is all, by the way, same price as Giordano, both for $6,300. Just because, simply look, Giordano has been producing at an all-world level of late. We're talking almost 7 DK points a game over the last 10 games. That's a lot. It's an immense number. Not to say that Giordano can sustain that, but a guy like Burns can because of his shot volume and his blocked shots. The fact that you expect San Jose to get some opportunities tonight that maybe they wouldn't, despite not being rested. It's a very close call. You can play both, but I will still go Burns on a smaller slate.
All righty, Jaroslav Halak is at his highest price all season. I'm talking $8,300 against the Flyers. Just below him is Semyon
Varlamov.
Yeah, that's your former Cap dude, right?
Yeah, he used to be.
Yeah, he will cost you $100 less against the Senators. Who's the better play for their asking price?
For the asking price, indeed. It's you would think it would be Halak just because of the fact that he's had a more consistent season. Varlamov, look, Semyon Varlamov at any time can turn in a 40-save gem, but he can also go 5-6 games where he allows 3-4 goals a game, and that's the risk. You want that little bit of consistency tonight. Look, Boston-Philly is a tough matchup for both teams. It's usually a 3-2 or 4-3 game. You're hoping for at least 30 shots from Philly, which is at least possible tonight because they're at home. Halak is the better play out of the two, but I will say this. David Rittich may be the high-risk play of the night. He's either going to pay off massively or he's going to dovetail kind of like one of these goalies in the Boston-Philly game.
All right, finally, Slate-approved pick time. Who is your lock of the night, Chris?
Now, I wish in a way this wasn't as easy as it sounds because it actually is. It's Johnny Gaudreau tonight. For as good as Buffalo's penalty kill can be, their 5-on-5 defense is now giving up almost 4 goals a game in the last month. And if you go back the last 3 weeks, it's almost 4.5. Those are frightening numbers for a team that scores nearly 4.4 goals a game at home and 4.7 goals a game over the last month. You have to take Gaudreau and Johnny come lately with the Calgary Flames tonight.
I like the pick. Wonderful work, young man. We will see you back here real soon. Splurge Your Save on the Hardwood is next after the legendary Adam Levitan is done talking.
Question 4 comes from Goodnight Moon. He says, do you ever consider passing on a slate? This one had so many overly discounted players and similar expectation values, I personally found cash lineups to be rather indistinguishable. Yeah, I don't really ever consider passing on a slate because everyone is dealing with the same set of circumstances, right? Especially in NFL, there are just so few slates in a season, and I put so much thought into them that I'm not going to pass. But your point is well taken. There are certainly times when it looks like it will be really hard for anyone to make a bad team. And I've had this discussion with some people before, and like what I just said gets to be an issue at high stakes. So, you know, if you're in like the top 1% or top 0.5% of the field and battling with other top 1% players for most of your action, then yeah, you know, indistinguishable pricing creates a ton of variance. You're not going to get a hashtag how rich that way. You're just like, you're not going to grind towards, you know, a 6-figure goal or mid 6-figure goal that way. But if your goals are lower, let's say you want to grind toward a profit of like 50K in cash over the course of an NFL season, then you can still find games even when it appears it's hard to find a really bad cash lineup. You know, there's still tons of people out there making mistakes. So to me, it's a difference between, you know, hashtag how rich people, you know, if 50K is enough for you to win the season, then yeah, when the slates are not that good, then you're going to have a hard time justifying making cash teams. But for 99% of the people out there, I still think it's worth playing because the action that you'll find will still be, you know, people just not trying, etc.
Welcome back to the Sweat, Emerson.
What's up,
We're back here with our NBA panel to play Splurge or Save, a concept that I struggle with in my daily life because I always choose splurge. Treat yourself. Luckily, I'm not the one dishing out advice here. These guys are DK Live's Julian Edlow and Mike Barner, plus Karin Phillips of the New York Daily News.
I know that whole splurge scene all too much.
Yeah, we have a problem.
No, not me, my wife. Donovan Mitchell, though, is one of the most expensive point guards tonight at $9,100. He's on the road facing the Clippers. But if you need to save some money, you could take Eric Bledsoe, who's been hot, and is only $6,300 against the Grizzlies. Julian, are you splurging or saving here?
Well, I just can't play Eric Bledsoe in that pace-down matchup on the second night of a back-to-back against the Memphis Grizzlies on the road. That's like a terrible spot for Eric Bledsoe. So I am splurging by default here. Donovan Mitchell at 9,100, pretty good spot on the road against the Clippers, a fast-paced team, not a very good defensive team. So it's Mitchell between these two. But your guard money, you got to look at that Brooklyn and Houston game. D'Angelo Russell, James Harden, that's where I want to spend my money if I'm going up at point guard.
Okay, good stuff. Mike, share with me and the folks at home what you're deciding to do here.
Yeah, I agree. You got to splurge and go with Mitchell out of these two. The Grizzlies just play at the slowest pace in the league, so it's not really an appealing matchup. Mitchell scored at least 51.5 DK points in 3 of his last 4 games, and the Clippers allow the 7th most points per game in the league. The Jazz are still playing without a point guard, so Mitchell's going to have the ball in his hands a lot to either help himself score or create some assists for his teammates.
All right, now to Sir Save-A-Lot. Go ahead. Make your argument for Bledsoe.
I'm not going to take Eric Bledsoe in this one, though, okay?
All right.
I save so much usually that I have money to spend in situations like this. So you know what? Swipe my card and give me Donovan Mitchell.
Oh, wow. Look at you.
I'm full of surprises, guys, okay? I know you guys think you know me, but there are layers to me.
Like an onion. Okay, if you want to go big at shooting guard, you could take Steph Curry, but he's going to cost you, cover your ears, Karin, $10.1K. Now, if you wanted to save some money, you could take his teammate Klay Thompson, who's way less, only $6.5K. So, Mike, which Warrior would you rather take when they take on the Pelicans?
I think the savings is so drastic that you got to go with Thompson here. He's broken out of his shooting slump. He's shooting 49.3% from behind the arc over his last 8 games. He's not going to get you as many assists or rebounds as Curry, but Thompson does have at least 2 steals in 4 of his last 6 games. So that gives him a boost. The savings here is so much you just can't pass it up.
If I know Karin, I know he's going with Klay Thompson.
Yep. You got that right.
Yep.
Look, the team is coming off this heroic performance they had the other night in Denver. Klay's got his groove back. The shooting slump is over. He's even dunking, which is something we've never ever seen since Washington State. So I'm definitely taking Klay here and saving some money.
Julian, what are you going to do? Do you like these savings as much as the other guys?
I think Curry's a really good GPP play, but if you're picking between the two, you got to go with Klay Thompson. There's nothing to, pull you away and make you go the other way. They have the same matchup. They've both been playing really well. So give me Klay. Klay Thompson's game log. He has scored 41.5 or more DraftKings points in 3 of his last 4 games. So you're looking at a guy that can easily get you 6 or more times value at a much cheaper price tag. And like I said, above all these guys, I want James Harden. So Klay Thompson's going to help me get him. Steph Curry is going to be impossible to fit.
All right, guys, the rookie campaign of Luka Doncic is going pretty good. He's already one of the most expensive small forwards. He's going to run you 8,400 against the Spurs. But hold your horses there. If he's too expensive for your roster, you can take Jason Tatum, who's coming off a career game 2 nights ago. He's only 6,600, Jessie, against the Raptors. Karin, you splurging or saving?
I'm personally splurging on Luka on this one. Ooh. However, given your budget, you know which I live by. If Tatum is more attractive to what you want to spend, take Tatum, because I think that is a great buy. And somehow I feel like I'm a used car salesman right now. But if it was me, I'm taking Luka.
Julian, who are you more attracted to?
Well, I mean, being a used sales carsman is kind of how you build these DraftKings lineups. You have to talk yourself into guys at a lower salary. But that said, I don't care that Jason Tatum's coming after that career game. That was one game. Kyrie Irving wasn't on the floor for that game. He's going to be on the floor for this game, and he's going to be highly motivated, I think. So personally, I'm going with Luka Doncic here. I'll find the way to spend up. If I'm going to be picking between these two, I would find the way to get from Tatum to Doncic. Doncic has been on a tear lately. No matchup has really prevented him from playing well. And the last time that he saw the Spurs this season, he dropped 50 DraftKings points on him. So that's where I want to spend my money.
It sounds like a pretty good argument there. Mike, what are the chances you're saving with Tatum riding that hot hand?
0. I'm not a big fan of Tatum in DFS. He's a really good player, but his talents don't always translate well from a fantasy perspective. If you ignore that game that he had with Kyrie Irving out, he had scored 28.5 DK points or fewer in 5 of his previous 6 games. So Doncic has a much higher upside, so I'll go with him in this one.
I like that, Mike. I like your mindset.
All right, Anthony Davis is the highest priced power forward tonight at 11.8K against Golden State. But if you need to save money, you could take Pascal. How do you say this guy's name?
Siakam.
Siakam, yeah. I wrote it down. Who's been a star for the Raptors this season. He's 6,700 against Boston. So, Julian, do you want to splurge on Davis or spend nearly half of the money on Siakam?
Yeah, this is such a wide margin that it totally depends how you're building your lineup. Look, I want Anthony Davis. This is projected to be the highest scoring game on the slate. It's a great matchup because Boogie's not back yet for the Warriors. They have nobody that is going to be capable of guarding Anthony Davis. So, look, I've said it 100 times. I want James Harden, but if you're not going to play James Harden, you're probably going to get a lot lower ownership on Anthony Davis in a really good matchup. So I think you got to go Davis here.
Mike, you want to go with Davis too?
No, I'll penny pinch. If you're going to pay up for somebody, I think you got to pay up for Harden and not Anthony Davis. So I'll go with Siakam. He's got 5 double-doubles in his last 8 games, and he scored at least 20 points 4 times over those 8 games, too.
Karin, where are you going on this one?
I've got a guy who's one of the best 5 players in the league, who's a stat stuffer in like every category, and has monster games against the Warriors over a guy who we really can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, that's
Give
true.
me Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Siakam can confirm.
Yeah, that. Yep, you said it.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to do some Chase or Fade with you coming up. But first, football. That is next.
Hey, it's Adam Coffield with the DraftKings Fantasy Flash. It's been a while since we've seen DeMarcus Cousins on an NBA court, right? Unless you count social media videos of him dunking on and blocking Warriors teammate Kevin Durant. But that all changes soon. Cousins is on track for a Friday return when the reigning champs visit the Clippers. Cousins has been out nearly a year after rupturing his left Achilles tendon last January, though that didn't stop him from getting a short team-friendly deal with the Dubs. Will he be the Cousins of old, the guy who averaged 25 and 13 last year for the Pelicans? Nah, not right away, and not on a team with 1 ball and that many All-Stars. But the 4-time All-Star himself could theoretically get there in time for the playoffs, at least sporadically, which certainly makes him a player for all of us to watch. Plus, we all want to know if the critics are right and Cousins will cause the Warriors to implode the way the Golden Gate Bridge does in Godzilla. That'd be awesome, right? Cousins said he hasn't changed the way he plays, and he won't, even after sitting out all this time. He uses different things as fuel to keep him moving forward, and he'll continue to play with that chip on his giant shoulder. You know, like if anyone says he'll, I don't know, be the reason a dynasty ends.
All right, one more time with the NFL guys, and we're happy to have them here. DK Lives, Reed Fowler, Steve Buchanan, and my guy, Pierce Dietrich, who knows his stuff when it comes to 90s Nickelodeon shows. Just a little, secret between us. Actually, you can see it all on Twitter.
Well, that's good to know, but right now we're talking price check, okay? Guys, go to Twitter. Take it to Twitter. And if the following players are priced right in classic mode contests for the conference championship weekend.
That's my read.
Yeah.
The underdog, Tom Brady, is motivated, has a big old chip on his shoulder, and can prove his doubters wrong again when he clashes with the Chiefs.
What?
In an effort to make a 3rd straight Super Bowl. He's $5,800. How do you feel about this price, Reed?
Yeah, that was a little Zoolander, I think, a little blue steel, but I like it, right? I talked about Tom Brady earlier this week at yesterday's show. I really like this price, and if you look at what he has to do, what he's been able to do, especially on the road, look, he's top 10 in pass attempts, top 12 in passing yards, in yards per pass play, and top 10 in passing yards on the season. And this is where he needs to do that, right? We talked about Kansas City's defense being pretty good at home, not giving up a ton of touchdowns, especially passing touchdowns. So I think he has to do this with volume. He's been passing it to 36 to 40 times on the road. This is what he needs to do. We talked about James White as well. This is the recipe for success for the Patriots. It's not necessarily going to be only on Sonny Michel, so I like his price.
Hey, dude. Pierce, you see what I did there, dude?
It's a great show.
It is a great show. What would you do here at Tom?
I even like Eureka's Castle.
I know. We should start our own show, but let's focus on Tom Brady's price point here, $5,800. You pay for it?
It's Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's playing. I'm not going to give you the stats. You can watch every other show. There's nothing to think about here. Jeff Ulrich's not on tonight, so I think it's completely cool for us to say mean things about him. But he wants us to believe that Tom Brady's not going to play well because it's cold outside. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and that's probably why Jeff's not on tonight.
There we go.
Oh, wow. That's definitely it. All right, guys. Mark Ingram, 4,600 against the Rams.
I have to ask.
Wow, I'm sorry, Steve. Sorry.
No, we can go on.
I'm sorry, Steve.
I mean, Steve, you want to play the role of Jeff tonight? Go ahead.
No, I have intelligent things to say. And, for what it's worth, I consider myself a modern-day Roger Claude. So if you want to talk about 90s, I don't mind this price at all. I mean, obviously, he has one of the better matchups on this slate. I mean, there's only 4 matchups to choose from, but obviously he has one of the better ones. But the only thing here is that we obviously haven't seen this from him consistently. We haven't seen that Brady that we're so used to. But what does make me feel a little bit better is that we have seen him play this team once already. He completed 24 of his 35 pass attempts, 340 yards with a touchdown, which is good for 25.8 DK fantasy points. You have to think this matchup is going to be a shootout, so you have to think that Brady's going to be throwing a lot. You have to really like him in this game. Here's going to be cold out, but I went outside and shoveled in the snow. I didn't die or anything. People can do things in the cold weather, so you have to like him at this price point, $5,800. Not that expensive for one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
I believe they call that the GOAT. All right, Steve, I'm going to go to you since I tried to cut you off. Mark Ingram's 4,600 against the Rams. Is he a good value this week?
I don't like playing Mark Ingram. I mean, we look at his game log. I mean, he had 7 games this season where he was under 10 DK fantasy points. And when he faced the Rams once already this season, he had 3.6 DK fantasy points. I mean, if he hits on a given week, it just feels totally random. Like, oh, Ingram broke off a big play, and that's why he ended up having a pretty decent day. And then, like we were saying before, it's not like he has a smash spot against the Rams. I mean, they're a pretty decent run defense. So it's hard to like really any of the running backs in this matchup. And I get that Mark Ingram's only 4,600, and granted, he might end up vulturing a touchdown, and everybody takes Kamara's going to be like, I'm not going to do that. But it's just, you can't feel good about Ingram on any given week. He's just not that guy.
Pierce, are you as bullish on Mark Ingram as Steve is?
You never feel good rostering Mark Ingram. But one thing in his defense last week, it seemed like every time he was about to get something going, the Saints committed some sort of stupid penalty over and over. They're going to clean that up this week. So if you're trying to talk yourself into Ingram, then you've got that going for you. But if you roster Mark Ingram, then you can't roster every single Patriots running back. And that seems to be the trick right now. It's just take all Patriots running backs. Don't try to figure out who Belichick's going to play. Just play them all.
Oh, okay. Play them all. Reed, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly to Pierce's point. And again, I just love how Steve has he has this dialogue with himself. It's just fantastic. But
great TV.
Yeah, I agree with Pierce. Look, I mean, when you look at the correlations, the success correlations between Kamara and Ingram, right? It's not good, right? If Ingram has a good game, obviously Kamara doesn't, and vice versa. And really, Ingram is a game theory play. If we think this is going to be a low-scoring game or a slow-paced game, which I don't think any of us do think that, then it might be Ingram. The 3 games that he has done well, and Steve alluded to his game logs, which, again, look kind of random, but the only thing that is consistent, most of them, or 2 out of the 3, were against slower-paced teams. And so he is that power running back. And the Saints might want to do that, but it's going to be hard-pressed when they're going up against one of the fastest-paced teams in the NFL. So I don't like it.
All right, speaking of consistent, here's a guy who is anything but that. Josh Reynolds, a guy Reed has been super high on all season. He's a boomer bust dude. He'll cost you $4,200 this week. What makes you think he's worth playing? Steven.
I mean, it's kind of crazy, but he feels a little bit expensive. I mean, he hasn't really done much. I mean, even without Cooper Kupp, he's averaging just 9.6 DK fantasy points without Kupp on the field. I mean, at this level, if you're looking for a receiver in that range, just go to Sammy Watkins. He's in a much more enticing spot. He just came back last week, had 8 targets. Now he's going to face the Patriots, and he's not going to see Stephon Gilmore. So Watkins feels like the much better play here. Reynolds is just way too boomer bust. He's kind of touchdown reliant, and I'm going to let you know in a little secret, he doesn't get many. So I don't see why you'd play Reynolds here.
Okay, well, that's a pretty good argument there, Reed. You going to go with your guy, Josh Reynolds, 4,200, or maybe go with Watkins?
No, I think he's a good player, but not in this spot. No, I'm agreeing with Steve here. He's getting the snaps, right? He's seeing 69, 70 snaps out of the 79 that we've seen over the last few games. Again, in these high power, these fast-paced games, he's on the field quite a bit, but especially in this spot, and especially liking Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods more predominantly, when Robert Woods has a good game, which I think he will this weekend, Reynolds doesn't have one. They run those same routes, those middle of those seam routes, and it's not him. We know that he does potentially get those red zone targets, but like I alluded to earlier, I think those go to Todd Gurley, those go to CJ Anderson. So I'm out on Woods. I'm out on Reynolds and on Woods in this spot.
Wow, Pierce, why or why not will Josh Reynolds be on your roster at $4,200?
Well, speaking of Woods and Cooks, they should garner the attention of the Saints, and that means, he should be wide open. Reynolds should be the go-to guy. But you could say that every week, and it never seems to happen. I understand going with a wide receiver 3 on a short slate trying to get a touchdown. But if you're going to chase a wide receiver 3, go to the AFC game. That's the game where not only can a guy get you 1 touchdown, he could possibly get you 2 touchdowns and 100 yards. This is not the game that I want the cheap wide receiver in.
All right, well, Travis Kelce is far and away the most expensive tight end this week, $7,100, which is $3K more than the next player. So are you willing to pay up for him, Reed?
Yeah, I think you have to. And that next player is Gronk. And we talked about how we just can't trust a guy in this spot. Yeah, you have to, again, look at what he's done. Look at the positive game flows that he has, right? He's seeing an average of close to 10 targets per game. And in this matchup, you're really going to see a lot, I believe, of dump downs across the middle. New England is pretty good at defending against the middle. They're top 5 per DVOA in that specific category. But we've seen even in these matchups, especially this one, where the Chiefs faced the Patriots at Foxborough, he still saw 9 targets. And so this guy is still someone that sees a lot of volume. He is their best player on this team. I think the Patriots are going to have to stop him, but they're going to be hard pressed to do so. So I do like him.
Steven.
All right, we're going to do a group activity. All right, we're going to take our phones, right? We're going to open the DK app.
Okay.
All right, let's take a look and see who's at tight end. Okay, we got Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, Everett, Harris.
Oh, I see what we're doing.
Only
here.
person you're going to play is Kelce. It's not even a question, okay?
Yep.
Not even play Kelce.
Not even a question. Not even a question. Pierce, do you agree?
Dwayne Allen's on there.
Do you have that phone insured? Did you have a protector on that?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
He lives
He's got all
dangerously.
kinds of phones. He's got burner phones. That one wasn't even a real phone. Yeah, he's right. Who else are you going to play? Just take the points. Take Kelce. There's plenty of other places to save. He has multiple touchdown possibility. It's fake. Let's see the screen.
It's actually, it's one of those fake phones that are filled with bubble gum.
90s.
It's fake, but it is delicious. Fake, but delicious.
All right. Did we get everyone there? Next question?
Yeah, you're
okay,
right.
sweet. The Saints have the most expensive defense at 2.7. Do they deserve to be the most expensive of the group here, Steve? You only have 4 teams to choose from.
Yeah, honestly, like when it comes to defense, especially in the playoffs, I mean, just play whoever fits. I mean, it really is a waste of time to try to go in and figure out what the best offensive play is going to be. I mean, really, did we think that the Colts were going to end up being the #1 ranked defense last week in terms of scoring? I mean, probably not. So when I'm building my lineups, especially for the playoffs, whoever ends up fitting after I make the rest of my lineup, that's who I put in. I feel like that's just the way to go, especially this week as well.
Reed, you going to roster the Saints?
Yeah, I mean, you can, but Steve's right. I mean, it's such a small slate. I mean, if you want like some stats, the Rams #2 in turnover percentage, the only one or the closest one to them are the Chicago Bears, obviously #1 there. But yeah, you want to fit these guys in. You want to make sure you get the players that you want. The Saints are good, right? The Saints, in terms of their rush defense, points allowed, sack rate, they're all high up there. But if you want to go off of them, I think the Rams would be the best play.
Okay, Pierce, how much thought are you putting into your defense and special teams?
Not much. I don't want to pick a defense. Is there a way that we cannot pick a defense? There's nothing you can do.
Tears.
You're just hoping you get a. I don't know what you're looking at. I really don't. You have 4 great offenses. Home field advantage, maybe. I don't even think the Saints' home field advantage is that big of a deal. Kansas City's got a tough matchup. I don't know what you're doing. Just listen to these guys. Just pick a random defense.
Hey, by the way, I mean, like I know we're talking classic mode, but yeah, in showdown mode, you don't have to pick a defense. For all of our great viewers watching.
Thank you, Emerson.
You're welcome,
That'll
kid.
do until tomorrow, gentlemen. Chaser Fade around the NBA comes your way next.
Hey, it's Brendan Glasheen in with this DraftKings Fantasy Flash. Report this morning, LeBron James will miss at least the next 2 games for the Lakers as the star continues to rehab a strained left groin. LA's won just 4 of the 11 straight games James has missed. The team's next 2 games at the Thunder Thursday, at the Rockets Saturday. The Lakers can't feel good about those games. Even with a healthy LBJ, those are tough road contests against 2 of the top 4 teams in the West. Understandably, LeBron's health is the priority. Lakers aren't going anywhere in May without him, close to right. But actually, competing and playing in May is in jeopardy. Lakers are tied with the Jazz for the 8th and final playoff spot in the Western Conference. Add 2 losses to the record this week. Missing the postseason is a real possibility. James is set to miss 13 games now on the season. That'll match the most missed in a year since the 2014-2015 campaign. The Lakers just can't wait to say what Rafiki once said, the king has returned.
Last block of the show, so let's make it count, people. So let's go ahead also and bring in the high rollers, our NBA panel. Karin, Mike, and Julian. Hello.
Chase or fade is the name of the game, so pay attention. The Warriors went crazy last night, putting up 142 against the Nuggets. They've got another game tonight, though, and against a team that can put up some points of its own. So Chase or fade, the Warriors and Pelicans combined for at least 241 points tonight, Karin.
Oh, I'm chasing this. Like, the Warriors are rolling. They're on fire. And I know a lot of people are looking at this like, hey, maybe slow down a little bit because this is a back-to-back. But let's really look at what happened last night. They didn't really play too hard. Okay, this was a really easy win. They're at home tonight. Shooters are shooting. Buckets are getting bucketed. So keep going with this. I'm chasing it.
Buckets are getting bucketed. I like that.
Yeah, you got to like that.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Julian.
Buckets are getting bucketed. 252 combined points last night in Denver, and that was without the starters even really playing in the fourth quarter, and they were on fire throughout that whole game. So they're well rested for this one. They are ready to go. Look, it's so many points, but the question is, can you really see yourself taking the under in this game? I would be much too afraid to do that. So if I got to lean one way here, I'm going over.
Buckets are getting bucketed, Mike. Do you think that means you're going over here?
Book it. Buckets. I'll take the over. These two teams combined for 252 points the last time they played. Everybody's mostly healthy, so this should be a fun, high-scoring game to watch.
All right, well, James Harden has at least 40 real-life points in 8 of his last 11 games. Let's chase or fade this, that he drops more than 41 tonight against the Nets. Jules.
Yeah, this is a pretty ridiculous one. If you go into the DK Sportsbook right now, James Harden's player prop is at 40.5 points. So this isn't just kind of stretching it out. Oh, is he going to get 41? This is literally the line on James Harden's points tonight. I've been hyping him up all show. He's done it in 8 of the last 11 games. So sure, give me another big night from Harden. The Nets cannot defend primary ball handlers very well. So I like the spot a lot for Harden. I think he's going to smash the slate, so I guess he's going to score more than 41 points.
Okay, Mike, you just heard Julian explain to everyone at home why we decided to go with 41 tonight. Will he drop more than that?
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, Eric Gordon's going to come back. He's going to be on a minutes limit, though. No Paul, no Clint Capella. There's a lot of crazy stats for Harden with this run that he's been on. He's attempted at least 15 three-pointers in 7 straight games. That's just crazy.
Holy crap. I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
Karin, where are you going to go?
Oh, I'm definitely chasing this. He's going over 40. If this was the NFL segment, I would throw my phone too at this moment. But I need my insurance and I need my phone, so I'm not. I don't expect James Harden to score under 40 until next November. Everybody on that team is hurt. Who else is going to take the shots? They're signing guys to 10-day contracts out the G League who I've never heard of, and they're getting hurt. So you have to just go with Harden by default here.
Alrighty, the Celtics have lost 3 straight and probably aren't too excited to see the Raptors visit TD Garden tonight. Boston finds itself a 2-point favorite in this one. So chase or fade, the Celtics cover the spread, Mike.
I'll fade it. They did lose their last 3 games, but they're all on the road. So this game being in Boston helps. They're 15-5 at home, including the overtime win against the Raptors. But the Raptors have won 5 straight. They beat the Bucks on the road by 7 points. So I think the Raptors come away with the win here.
Karin, what do you think?
I'm chasing just because for some reason I believe in the Boston Celtics, partly because they're still my pick to go to the finals. And at some point, I know we're in January and it's getting close to the playoff time, but at some point this team has to figure this out. So guys, please, for my finals pick, figure it out tonight.
Julian, where are you going on this?
Yeah, the money is on the Celtics here. The spread has moved in favor of the Celtics since it opened. So really interesting spot to be taking them against such a strong team, given the struggles they've had lately. But as the guys touched on, those struggles are on the road. The Celtics are a completely different home team. And Kyrie Irving is going to be back and motivated, as we've talked about all show. So if I'm picking this game, I'm going to take the Celtics. But if there's a game on this whole slate to maybe fade wagering on, it might be here, just because the Celtics have been so lacking in identity all season. It's tough to decide what team is going to show up tonight.
All right, guys, last but certainly not least here, let's go slate approved pick. Please tell us who is your lock play of the night and why. Let's start with you, Julian.
If you've been watching most of the show, you know who it is. It's James Harden. You can't go any other way. $13,000 is his salary. People might see that and think they need to go down to Anthony Davis or Steph Curry or whatever. James Harden's still the best point per dollar play on the slate. He's averaging around 75 DraftKings points. That means he should be priced for 5 times value at $15,000. So 13 grand is a discount here, especially against the Nets. Give him to me.
Mike, help us out.
I'll go a different way. I'll go Donovan Mitchell. He's got such a high floor with all the Jazz point guards out. The Clippers play at a fast pace. They give up a lot of points. It's a great matchup. I'll take my chances with the cheaper Mitchell.
All right, Karn, who you taking a chance on tonight? Who's your lock play of the night?
I'm with Julian, James Harden. His buckets will get bucketed tonight.
Buckets will
Karn
get
came to
bucketed.
spend tonight.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah,
I've been saving so much. I got money to blow, baby.
Oh, shoot.
I'm going out with you. I want to party with you, man.
Very true. All right, guys, thank you so much. That's a show. This is The Sweat. I'm Jessie. He's Emerson. This show will be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Be sure to watch and download the DK Live app, like, now.
It's important.